Since I have talked about bad series 2 times in a row, I think it is time to spread some positivity around. And I will do this by talking about the Castlevania series of Netflix. Now, in the previous video, I talked about another Netflix series called La Casa de Papel, and since both shows belong to the Netflix, there are some shared features. So what did Castlevania did different that made it better than La Casa de Papel? Now let's dig into it. First of all, lots of philosophies and life lessons involved in this series. It also demonstrated how the churches worked in the medieval times. There were lots of demonstrations such as, the church, whenever something goes wrong, they are looking for someone else to blame, or they are, spreading false hope to people. They were making witch hunts whenever they wanted to get rid of someone or whenever someone questioned them. They resort to just burning them alive or torturing them under the churches in the catacombs or dungeons. So this demonstrates how not questioning religious, authority figures, goes wrong. Why we shouldn't do this, why we should always question, and why we should always use our mind in certain situations. This demonstrates the corruption of the churches perfectly during the medieval times. There was that psychotic, priest at the beginning. That guy didn't suffer enough. He deserved a more painful death, but still, the death scene was amazing. How the demons talk about how God abandoned him and they love him, etc. So, again, there are so many cool moments like that. There were that speech about the difference between strength and power when Hector and that sexy vampire was talking about, how he talks about Carmilla wanted power, but I believe that vampire's name was Lenore. Lenore wanted strength. And Isaac's whole journey, how he hates everyone, but then he meets with some decent people, and they had lots of philosophical talks about the life. And all these speeches are, I think, right. They didn't try to impose something wrong to the viewer. So I'm impressed. It was very, very good actually. And a cinematic production should have these qualities. They should give you life lessons. They should improve your personality or your sight of light. Life. The way you looking at things, they should improve you. It shouldn't be about, random ass thieves, fucking each other and, robbing places. Like, it shouldn't be like that. So number two, the sex scenes are there. Again, this is a Netflix, series, so it will obviously will be there. However, they are used in meaningful ways. First of all, they didn't exaggerate it. Like, the scenes are not just there for the sake of it. The scenes led to something, For example, the one between Hector and Lenore caused Lenore to enslave Hector completely because she gave him the ring while he vowed to serve her forever. Like the scenes had a point. It wasn't about, getting cheap attraction from people. And it's not like they tried every fantasy in the book and they tried to spread it around the series as much as possible. Like, I believe there were only 2 scenes like that. The one between Alucard and these, Far Eastern students, and the one between Hector and Lenore. And they were nice, they were okay. And in the end, they didn't try to steal the show. Like, it was just a part of the whole series. And no patriotism also happened in this series. Isaac was a Muslim, for example. They could have easily made him an, evil Muslim terrorist guy or something. I believe in the games Isaac's a bad character, actually. But they did something with the guy. They didn't just, you know, made him look bad because he is a Muslim. I remember I hating the Wonder Woman movies of Warner Bros. So much. There was that female character who wore the mask at, I believe, she looked like a terrorist. She was in Turkey, in my home country. She was making bombs or chemicals or something like that. Like, Warner Bros. Always does that. I also hated that, 300 Spartan movie. The Persians, dressed up like, terrorists again. They had these large swarming armies while 300 quality European soldier was holding like that. This is not how the real life works, okay? And I don't like that. And I personally, I don't have, hard bonds with my religion or my country. I am more of a I am more of a free soul, and I have a huge empathy skill. I don't really care about people having different opinions or different religions or different countries. I appreciate every culture and every, culture's, positive sides. While I am also disliking the negative traditions, of course, the bad traditions. So, not having a patriotism here is nice. And the people who made this series are from a Christian country, probably, but they have no problem in criticizing their mistakes. Now, the next reason is self explanatory actually. It's not having SJW woke bullshit. Now, let's compare it to something like Rings of Power. Now, there are obviously some black characters, but they are not there to appease people or appease certain communities. They are naturally there. Or Asian characters, they are naturally in there. In Rings of Power, they made a black elf, which is alright. You can have that. But then they gave him his, American soldier, haircut. Like, what the fuck is this? This is not an elf. He just having a pointy ear won't make you an elf. Alright? Here, they are respecting it more. There is a, black sailor, for example. His costume, the place where he was in, everything matches it. It is that character is naturally in there. I also hated that gay sex with Alucard, but it is actually reasonable because it is a different character. I mean, it has a different race. It is a mixture between human and vampires, and he has a backstory which could lead him to enjoy such a thing. Now, I played Castlevania series and I like Symphony of the Night a lot. So I didn't like, because the Alucard that I grew up with have never been gay in my mind. So I didn't like it, but I understand it. Like, that character has a potential to be gay, and let's be real, design is kinda gay as well. So, all right, at least I understand. I understand. Someone could look at Alucard's design and say, yeah, this is probably gay. Like, all right, it's understandable, and again, it leads to something. It makes you understand the Alucard character more. That character is traumatized because he doesn't feel belong to anywhere. He's first of his kind. So everything is understandable and reasonable in this franchise. Now the next one is the introduction of the characters as well as the character arcs are visible and they are really good. Now the two Forge Masters had the best character progressions in my opinion. Isaac was that naive guy. He was weak-hearted, while Isaac was the polar opposite. And throughout the series, they, progressed. And when they meet again, they were similar to each other. Like, imagine them as polar opposites. In the end, they meet with each other in between, at the middle, basically. And I like that yin yang stuff. Also, Trevor was that careless, drunk guy. He accepted his family heritage with Saifa by his side. It was kind of like Aragorn in Lord of the Rings series, and I really appreciated that. So, character progressions are all over the place. Lenore was also a character. You know, he finally realized Carmilla is, crazy, having so much ambition is wrong. She was basically, you know, accepting Carmilla's ambitions at first, like those are her own, life goals. But in the end, she realized she wanted different things. These are all nice. Now, character progression is one thing, but introduction of the character and making the people understand the character is another thing. You basically understand every character's, you understand why they are like that. Motives and now lastly, the spells were creative and the universe had its laws. For example, the whole religious stuff like bishops, making water, holy water, etc. So the God is real in this franchise. You understand that bishops have, some sort of magical power if they do their job right. All of this stuff is established, and Sypha's spells are mostly, useful and creative. Like he doesn't just, do fireballs. He kind of uses fire and ice like an firebender or waterbender from the last Airbender series of Avatar. So she also uses lightning in, some special moments. I like that touch. So yeah, it is not like just firing an orb from your wand and hoping that it would hit to the enemy. You can do different stuff with spells. There are these special spells like Sypha, I believe, found a book in, Belmont Treasure Vault, and in the book there was a spell to bind Dracula's castle. Like spell is used in different ways. It is not that simple, and I like that. And you don't have to yell the spell names like Firebolt Go, like in Harry Potter, like saying Avada Kedavra, etc. That shit was always annoying. They are trying to ambushing someone, but they have to yell the spell name. Like, imagine there's a battle going on and everyone's saying different things like Stupefy, Expelliarmus. It looks stupid in my opinion, and you don't have that there. Also, during the battles, this is an anime, so in the anime, usually characters, explain their powers to each other, but they are actually explaining it to the viewer. While I understand it is a necessity, it looks stupid. Like, why are you explaining to your opponent your abilities which your opponent doesn't understand? Use it to your advantage. In here we don't have that. In that battle between Alucard and Trevor at the beginning, there are no explanations, and the more you watch it, the more you realize the details. Like Alucard, for example, was testing Trevor the whole time, but he doesn't explain it in the middle, like, oh, I'm just testing you, you are not in my power. He doesn't say that. When you watch it carefully, you realize that Alucard's one hand is tied behind his back the whole time, you know. So these are all nice. For example, or Trevor's whip is blessed, so it damages Alucard, but they don't explain it to you. You see that it creates a wound in Alucard's chest, and in the later, Trevor uses a sword to same spot, but the sword broken in half. So it proves you that that whip is not an ordinary whip, it's something special. Little things like that, is amazing. And I'm so hyped for Castlevania Nocturne series, which will include, Symphony of the Night and Round of the Blood series with Richter, which is my favorite Belmont, and it is my favorite, piece of the story in the whole Castlevania series. It will be amazing when the writers return from the strike. I hope that strike ends soon with the authors getting what they deserved in the end, and we will get series with some good quality.